Darin and Anita, a music evolution.
Darin Henley here, Darin and Anita on Grand Strand. We call it a music evolution, and it is a music evolution of a lot of different kinds of music throughout the years that we like to bring you. Artists, songwriters, just everything going on in the music industry. And here with me today is Melvin Steals, and I also want to give your brother a little shout out there too for Melvin Steals, the Steals brothers.
Right.
Songwriters, you've written songs for the Spinners. You've written songs for First Choice, Gloria, Gaynor, and Ecstasy, and you were telling me it goes on a little bit. It was Ecstasy,
Passion and Pain, and it's Doctor.
Yeah, Dr. Melvin Steals it as well. And we're going to tell you why that's Doctor coming up, because we've got a man here, two careers, folks, music industry and education.
Right.
And both of those, I think we really need a lot of in the music industry. It makes people happy. Music makes people happy, but you got to give them an education before we get started.
So they can make money to buy my music.
To buy the music. Smart man, see, he's got it on both sides. It's good to be sitting here with you and talking to you. We're at Studio East here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I just love catching up with folks. And we've gave you all that, and as we go through this, we'll find out what songs you've worked with and have written for those artists that we talked about. But how did you get into the music industry? How did all that come about?
It all started when my twin brother Melvin and I were 9. Every Saturday, it was mandatory that we would take a bath, and we were so small, the two of us could get in a bathtub together. And when we were in the bathtub, we would imitate the music that we would hear on the local R&B station. And he would pretend to be a drum, I would be a bass, and we made all of this noise. And when we took our show on the road down to the living room, our mother would yell up the stairs, "You guys, stop that racket! You sound like a pack of wild dogs." But that was in us. We went to a very spiritual church, and the music just got in us. And we wanted to sing. And my twin brother taught himself how to play the piano. But when we went to Cheney State College, we had a classmate by the name of Eddie Homan who sang "Hey There Lonely Girl," and this was before that song. And one day my brother intentionally tripped him as he was going through this place on the campus called the Snack Bar, and that's how they met. And Eddie Homan and my brother would get together and collaborate on songs, and Eddie took my brother and a friend of ours named Chip, Raymond Chip Porter, and another friend named James Cheney Turner down to Philly to the studio on North Broad Street, and that's where we met Norman Harris, Ronnie Baker, the bass player, and Earl Young, the founder of the Tramps, and we got involved with the Philly sound. And from there, we made a recording in 1967. We had a group called the Four Perfections, and we recorded a Northern Soul favorite entitled "I'm Not Strong Enough." And we were so surprised. A couple years ago, a guy named Dave Moore in the UK saw my daughter's Facebook page and asked her if she was related to me. And she said, "Yeah, sure, that's my dad." And so he contacted me, and last Thanksgiving weekend, the 4 original members of the group, plus my wife, were flown over to Manchester, and we sang "I'm Not Strong Enough." They wanted to hear Honeybee that we wrote for Gloria Gaynor. They wanted "Could It Be I'm Falling in Love." There was a song we wrote for Magic Night called "If You and I Had Never Met." And there was another song that we did for Ecstasy, Passion and Pain, "I'll Do Anything for You." And they wanted to hear those songs, and it was mind-boggling that
it's still there.
Yeah. "I'm Not Strong Enough" never got some airplay, but it migrated to England, and I was surprised when we were singing, grown men crying. They were so excited about hearing a song that they grew up with that I never knew.
That was still what it's doing overseas.
And we never got paid. But that happens in this business.
You hear that in the music industry a lot. A lot of artists I talk to, you hear those stories, and it's terrible that those stories there. That's why I like doing this and talking about the music evolution thing, is to bring what you've done, you and your brother have done, to the forefront of what it is. It's almost like watching a Darlene Love now, and you see, you know, the ladies who were always there in a lot of songs now, and,
Right.
and are now sort of getting that spotlight
Right.
in a way for all that. Well, I know you've worked with tons of artists, and also you're known, I saw this, and you might explain this a little bit. It's maestro, I believe, in lyric.
Maestro and lyric. When we were in the process of having Tom Bell produce that song, my twin brother came up with the idea that we should use maestro and lyric. And people were puzzled. They thought, well, this must be Tom Bell and Linda Creed. And eventually, the song got so big and people found out who we were. And that's when Mighty 3 Music, and they wanted to sign us.
Well, who was maestro and who was lyric?
My brother Melvin played the keyboard, and so we called him Maestro because he developed a unique style of playing the piano. The way he played, the arrangement, everything was there. You could hear everything. And when he would play the piano, our relationship, perhaps because we were twins, the words came. And when Billy Jackson, who produced the Times and some other Philadelphia groups, came to us, he wanted us to write a song for Peaches and Herb. And he came with the music. And the words came, you know, could it be I'm falling in love? And then at the time, Tammy Terrell, who was Marvin Gaye's partner, was a very good friend of ours, and we wanted to write a song like Marvin and Tammy, where she would sing a verse and Marvin would sing a verse, and that's why Could It Be I'm Falling in Love for So Long really is 2 verses. Right. You know, Marvin would sing a part, we could say, or Peaches and Herb, and that's how it went down. But Peaches and Herb said no. They turned us down, and they said, I heard that they could write a better song. But all I can say is, praise the Lord.
What a staple of a song.
Yeah, thank God for Tom. Tom Bell,
I'm gonna tell
heard
you.
It was one of the first 4 songs that he took to Detroit when the Spinners chose to leave Motown and go to Atlantic Records. And it was interesting, one of the other 4 songs was I'll Be Around, which we didn't write. Tom Bell and forget his co-writer at that time. They were high school classmates. But when I heard that song in the studio, I said, Tommy, that's a hit. You know what he told me? He said, nah, man, that's a B-side. I said, wow. B-side. And it was a B-side, but in the same way that we wrote the B-side, the A-side for Love Won't Let Me Wait. Our song was the A-side, and it got flipped, right. And that flew up the charts. And the same thing happened with I'll Be Around. The DJs loved it, and it just went up the charts.
Well, the Could It Be I've Fallen in Love, man, that is such a staple of a song now, because when I play weddings and you go out doing it's one of those songs you play and you can see everybody in the whole crowd mouthing along to that song.
What a lot of people don't know, the first time we heard it, Tommy played it for us, we didn't like it. And he played it again, and he said, in 6 weeks, this song is going to be a million seller. And it was. What he did, we had a brighter beat at 5. Anyone ever hears Regina Bell's version of Could It Be I'm Falling in Love, it's a lot of energy.
Right.
Tom Bell decided he was going to give it the Al Green beat. And to his credit, you know, this might be the biggest song that the Spinners did. I know it continues to get
It does. It
played.
does. Like I said, I see so many people. And when you can write a song, and I've heard artists say like this, I worked for General Johnson at one time, and he, you know, would say when you look out in a crowd and you see folks and they're singing your songs, and especially a song that has lasted and has become a legendary kind of song, it really means something to the writer.
Right.
Because you've touched you've touched someone's soul in a way with that music. Well, you've worked with tons of people: Archie Bell, O.C. Smith, The Impressions, Gloria Gaynor, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, and I know you did the Honeybee song for Gloria. Was the song on there?
Right. We did Honeybee. Paul Leka? He did Steam, and he came to Pittsburgh with Billy Jackson, and he met us, and he told us, he gave us the opportunity to write a song for Gloria Gaynor, and it was Honeybee. And we took Paul Leka and Gloria Gaynor down to Philadelphia. And that song, Honeybee, was it's a seminal disco record. Earl Young, Bobby Eli, Norman, Baker. It's that Philly sound.
So can you dance? Do you get into all that, dancing with the disco days kind of thing?
We wrote a lot of disco stuff. Now, unfortunately, had bilateral knee surgery, so
I want to bring up something about Could It Be I've Fallen in Love and the way that song come about, and I believe she is sitting actually right across from us now, is how that song come about as your lovely wife.
My wife. And I remember when we first met, it took me a month to learn how to say her name. Her name is Adrena, and I was never sure. But
you notice I let you take that because I was a little unsure myself.
But in the song, the lyrics say, since I met you, I've begun to feel so strange every time I speak your name. And that's how I felt about my wife. And that was a song that we wanted to write that could convey that strong feeling of love. Some people have infatuation, but true love is something that's rare and wonderful. And when you have found it, you have found a rare and wonderful thing. And that's what that song is. And it tells about how I feel, still feel about my...
That's why it reached so many people's soul and it's hot today, right there. Yeah, I think that when you put the lyric, that feeling was in there. It was in there. Well, here's the other career. That's the music career.
Right.
And we're going to go in. There's a lot more going on with the music career now, and we'll talk about that. But here you are, bachelor's degree, master's degree, and PhD.
Right.
Now, that's incredible to have all of that. And I believe I read, too, that you were principal of a school there and went through. And now, I didn't know when I first saw the doctorate thing, I didn't know if it was of music or education.
It's education. I have a doctorate in curriculum and supervision from the University of Pittsburgh. And what started that, I took a year off to pursue music and was not successful. In fact, when you take a sabbatical, you only get half of your pay.
Right.
And it got so bad that my wife would take our children into the living room on Sunday mornings, and they would have a Bible study. And then they would hold hands and pray for that fool down the hall. And when I got back to teaching, when you take a sabbatical and you go back, the school district in Pennsylvania have the authority to change your teaching position. And I was an 11th grade English teacher. I taught American literature where you had an anthology. And they changed me from American literature to American novel and gave me a room full of blue chip football players in 11th grade who could not read.
Oh, no.
And for me, when my students fell, I fell. And because of those students, I went back to school and ultimately earned a PhD. And I remember 3 of those students I put in a summer class at Duquesne University called Reading and Study Skills. And one of those young men went to Columbia, an Ivy League school. And his name is Vernon Brown.
Awesome.
In National Honor Society. But he was found to be reading at the 9th grade reading level. But within 6 weeks, going 1 extra day a week, he brought his reading level up 3 years. Went to Columbia, graduated from Columbia with a 3.2 grade point average, and now he's working for a bank down in Atlanta.
That's awesome. You have reached people, to bring up the music, but you've reached people on 2 different levels with the education thing and helping people that way. But with even the music thing, I think when you write, you help people with music. I think music is a soul feeling kind of thing.
Something I love. Like my students,
Exactly.
As I got older, I
You
always
love it.
told my classroom students, and when I was a principal, I would tell the whole school, and I would tell my staff, I love you.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
It is.
If you love what you're doing, you're going to become an expert. And when kids know you love them, they will move heaven and earth for you.
To please you somewhat.
Yes, and I see them.
Get what you want.
Last August of last year, I went down to Atlanta to see one of my students who's a minister. He has a church down there, and he let me come up to his pulpit to speak to his parishioners.
Yes.
And I told them one of the greatest things about being an educator is to have lived long enough to see one of your former students fulfill the promise that you saw in him years ago. And
Watch
that
it grow.
it's priceless. And I tell all my students, if you have an opportunity to do so, do whatever you feel I gave you, you give to someone else, but only to those who listen.
Pay it forward.
Yeah.
Well, education there. What's happening now? Here you go. I want to get you. I know some of your songs are being used in commercials now.
Right. We had Could It Be I'm Falling in Love in a Samsung commercial in 2014 promoting the Galaxy 6. And I was just told about a week ago that Intel is going to use one of our songs. My twin brother and I are co-writers of Chubb Rock's monster hit Treat 'Em Right, along with McKinley Jackson, who's a good friend of ours. And Intel is going to be using it in a TV commercial, something they rarely do. They never used music before. That's what Ken Knox told me.
And we're going to talk about Ken here in a minute, because
Yeah.
this sort of brings that up a little bit, because he is working with these guys now too. But Gary at DSG Records and Nigel Lewis, who's doing some remix stuff,
Yeah.
you're working with them as well.
Yeah, well, in the 1970s, we did a song on Eddie Kendricks called I'm Having a Senior Moment.
Oh.
The song is a song, wow, I'm really having a senior
But
moment.
I have them all the time. It's all
But
right.
it's a song that,
When we're going to bring Ken in here in a second.
Right.
We're going to see how good he is.
Okay.
We'll see if he knows this song or if he has senior moments as well.
the song is Don't Underestimate the Power of Love. Wilson Pickett also did it, but more recently we've done it with Earl Young.
You notice you just got it. You got
Yes.
the names. That senior
Yeah.
moment come back. I'm joking with you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Earl Young and a guy named Darryl Grant, who used to be a member of Fat Larry's band, and he's been a vocalist with the Spectrum, very popular singing group from Las Vegas. And the two of them have come together, and we have Nigel Lewis has done his incredibly good remix. And this song is starting to have a buzz, create a buzz in the UK, and we're bringing it to the US, and we're very, very excited about this song.
Well, we're going to take a break here momentarily, but before we do that, if you want to find out more about Melvin and Mervin, you can go to Steals Brothers, and that's BROS, studio.com, stealsbrothers.com, and you can find out everything you need to find out there. Also, we got links attached to this video for you just to click and go there as well. We're going to take a short break, and since he's sitting over here in the studio, we're going to bring Ken Knox in as well. He's got some new stuff out there too, and we'll talk to him a little bit too.
Okay.
All right, Melvin, thank you again so much.
My pleasure.
We'll be back in a second.
Darin and Anita, a music evolution.
Darin Henley here. Be sure to join Anita and I on the radio. It's a music evolution. Music from today and yesterday's artists, up-and-coming artists, artist interviews, great conversation with Anita and I, fun and entertaining. For more information on how to find an affiliate near you or to listen online, visit DarinandAnita.com.